We have everybody, I think, maybe. Welcome, everybody. Glad you could come today, and you too. Glad you came today. That'll be great. So I've got most of your names, except for you two, on my little sign-up sheet back there. And all I need you to do is initially indicate the column that says, you know, like attended. We are going to start with an invocation. This is in your material. So one of the things that we'll talk about is sometimes you might be asked to give an invitation, an invocation. So this is part of the stuff that's in your packet there. So let's pray. Lord and creator of the universe, watch over everyone here present. We pray for blessings for each member of the family of Lionism. Give them wisdom to recognize and utilize their gifts and talents to the fullest. Protect them and their family members from harm and danger. Help them to enjoy life and gain much in the fellowship and self-improvement from Lions Clubs International. We stand in humility before you with our heads bowed and our hearts open. We ask that you bestow many blessings so that we may continue our imaginative and ingenious humanitarian services. In the Lord's name we pray. Amen. Amen. So you too can use this. All righty. So I think we have lunch here. The pizza's here. So while it's still warm, why don't we maybe get that and get that going? We've got plates back there. And then Terry is going to do an icebreaker for us and maybe give us a few words of wisdom.
No. Probably pretty cold.
So really a whole lot of work just putting the, so we just close. Yeah, so we have one person that can kind of make a little hole.
Then you don't have to drive back.
That one on the ball there.
Who do we have on Zoom?
Marianne Robinson.
So you bring your own.
I'm trying to figure out how to get it so that we can see the Zoom, but this is working a little differently than I've ever seen before. So
I can hear it though. That's what's important.
okay, that's good. All righty, well, that's great. So I think what we're going to do now is Terry is going to do a little icebreaker for us, and I've got her on camera here so that you can see her. But I know you can't.
Hi, Terry.
I'm gonna have you as part of this icebreaker also, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so
All right, could we give Terry our attention, please? Ding, ding, the bell's ringing.
I did this icebreaker the other night in Battle Creek, and it was remarkably a huge success, and I got many compliments off of it. What I want you to do, and I'm going to time you, is you don't have, Stan, I'm gonna have you just swing behind. But we're gonna have 2 minutes to talk about really innovative things that you can do to get members, to bring in new members. What are creative ideas? And now I'm upping this a little bit because your zone members and people at these clubs are going to be asking. This is the main question people are going to be asking you. Oh, we're having such a hard time with membership, getting members. There's so many problems in getting members. How can we address this question by giving them these ideas? Have you done this, 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 and this? 2 minutes on, someone write them down, and then we're gonna write them. So Marianne, you get thinking of your ideas, okay?
I have one.
Okay, we're gonna start right now. I want you to come up with more than one, Marianne.
Well, I'll start with one.
Okay,
It's
just hold on, I'll get with you in a minute.
Okay.
Go.
If you have a package of Lion mints. Whenever you pull them out, you can take a mint and say, this is one way we support the Lions, and we're always looking for new members. If you're interested, we'll give you information about our club.
Awesome idea.
Okay, so I've heard that one of the things is we need to introduce ourselves. as Lions. And not just ourselves, well, one thing I noticed that we have not done. First of all, talk about going, that's one of the key things for our people, like the J guys, they don't know who exists. So many times you go to a scene, and you don't know what to do. They come up with a letter, and I said, well, so just trying to get just know you exist and know what you do.
Okay, it sounded like some really great conversation in 2 minutes. You only needed 2 minutes to get all those ideas out.
Right.
And can I have your attention back here now? Yeah, can I? Okay, so Cheryl, or I'm sorry, Mary Ann came up with the Lions mints, having Lions mints on you and giving them out to people and sharing them with people, and that gives you an opportunity to talk to people. I have a story about Lions mints. I was at the Jackson Coffee Company meeting some Lions there for a meeting, and the person, the young girl that was doing up the coffee says, oh my gosh, do you know Mr. D? And I said, oh, Mr. Denny Lotzenheiser? Yes, he substituted at our school, and he always had mints, and he sold the mints at the school. Well, Denny, Pastus or Governor Denny, is always selling and has mints on him, and that is his way of getting the conversation about Lionism in place all the time. And he and Kelly just had a conversation here recently, or not a conversation, but they had an event at Polly's where they sold mints. How many did you sell?
We sold, we made $150 some,
Yeah.
but that they gave away 600 mints.
Yeah, isn't it awesome?
And
that
they made
gets-
over $1,000
Yeah,
in 2 days.
that's awesome. So Cheryl and Betty, what did you come up with?
Well, Betty said food always draw people.
Absolutely. So what can we do? A fundraiser? Fundraiser to sell food? What else?
Well, we weren't talking about selling, we just gonna give it away.
Okay,
Give it away.
so,
Just to draw
so
people
food
to
pantries?
whatever. But one of the other things was to introduce yourself as a Lion to the public at all times, and no matter what you're doing, do that introduction. We talked about partnering with others, in the community, other organizations, just to kind of get the word out.
That's a
Be
great,
involved, just to garner support for what you do and support others in their activities as well. But one of the key things, and our last thing was get to know your members. You have to celebrate the, you celebrate your games, and you have to vary the things that are not working for you. Sometimes you want to hold on to things that are not working, and that's not doing you any good. So celebrate the good things, you know, whether it's 1 member increase or 2 member increases.
Yes.
Those type things. But you first of all need to get to know each other in your club. My club is new, so that's very important for us. Get to know the strengths and weaknesses of the people that you're working with and the things that they will and will not do and things that they can do and dissecting personalities so that you can send people to different areas based on their strength.
Right.
But we can't do that if we don't know it. So you gotta get to know each other and celebrate each other and then venture out into the world.
Right. It's not always,
The end.
it's not always just about bringing in new members. It's
Right.
about keeping the members we
Exactly.
have also. And we do that by celebrating and getting to know each other and having this camaraderie. It's very important. Very good. How about the next group?
School open houses, membership drives. Getting out in the public, just like Cheryl just said, wearing your shirts, name tags, people recognize those, you know, those yellow vests when you're out serving. Present in festivals, you know, set up a tent, like the Eye Openers did just a couple weeks ago down here. They just took the kids' site tent, set up down in the park down there and talked about doing membership drives. And membership drives, I think in like Jackson particularly, there's like, I don't know, 10 or so clubs around the area. I think it would be cool to have a membership drive for all of us together as one unit, like down here, maybe having an open house or something.
Right.
And each club, write out what your club specifies it. You know, your club might not be for my club or whatever, you know what I mean? Each person can choose what you do differently. And glasses, talking to people about donating glasses. And if they give you a donation for your glasses, well, hey, you know, are you interested in becoming a lion? And at my work, for example, I have my little lion business card,
Yeah.
right with my other business cards. So get some business cards. We have some, you know, hand
Right.
business cards out when you're talking to people about lions, so they can get in touch with you. And then the Google form, make your membership application. So, yeah, Google. Social media, post on that.
Membership applications are so important, and having that card right there with you, and that's why the NAMI team, well, it was so important for us to get those cards made so that you can give that application and that card and put the your club information on that so that it all goes together hand in hand, that gets that pull in, that pulls that person in. So very good. What are we calling those? Cards.
Business cards.
Business cards.
Business. I'm gonna take a picture of this. Okay, sorry. All right, what else? What, how about the next table? Nancy? Hey, Chris?
Chris just had a great idea. Well, we've been thinking long and heavy about our club. We're celebrating 100 years now, and we're holding at about, we have around 48 members, but 34 in regular attendance, down to about 25 with the virus. So, and we've been talking about this for quite a while, and we've done a little research on what is it with the young people of today? What are their focuses? Why don't they want to commit? Why do they not get involved in service clubs that have stood the test of time all over the world? Is there something in their character, and I don't think this is true at all, that doesn't want to help? No, it's just that they're more me oriented. It's about me, my life, my kids, my family, what's good for me. So we have to figure a way to fit in there. And so the Chamber of Commerce is a place to meet new people. We joined the Jackson Chamber. We've been a member for several years, and we invite them as speakers to our club and then hand them a membership and encourage them to join. We try to create some fun moments in our clubs for that too. But we've kind of also focused on the retiree. How many of you are retirees in here? Okay, at any time during your career, I'm sure you were asked to do many things. And you said yes to some that you thought you could fit in, that you really liked. You had to say no to others that you just didn't have time for, but you wanted to know more about. And I know I used to tell myself, someday, when I retire, I'll give back. I want to do that, but I can't right now because I'm coaching, I'm doing this and that. And so my someday came when I retired, actually 2 years before I retired. So I think we've been talking a lot at Jackson Host about focusing on new retirees. They're still in pretty darn good health. They're still active. They can't give you that excuse. And you can entice them maybe with now's the time. Now's the time for you to give back in a way that you'd like to. And this is what we do to give back. Would you like to be part of that?
So find retirement groups. There's Peg Griggs belongs to the state retirement group
Yeah.
here in Jackson.
And there's, of course, the consumers retirees. They're a very active group and a big group.
Yes,
And we have several Consumers Power members
great.
retired, but that's a focus because like the little research with the young people, they're big on wanting to help, maybe for one day from 10-4. I'll be there for that activity. I'll give you all I got, but don't ask me to come to a meeting every week. Don't ask me to be on this committee because I can't fit it into me
Right.
and all that's important to me.
Right.
So if we can catch them in little areas like that, possibly, go ahead.
I think you're right. No, you don't. You always have good things to say, but to just add on to that, I think we need to value people for what they can do for the club, and it's not always coming to a meeting. So some of us who have the time to do the meetings can do that and can do the planning. And the younger people, it's okay if they just come to our events. In fact, that's great, because a lot of times they are more able to do some of the things that we can't do as much anymore. And we need them. And as I was telling Chris, when I was a parent, anything that I could do with my kids was great too. So if it's something that maybe their kids can come to and everybody can participate, that's awesome as well.
Good.
As an example, just with our Daffodil Day coming up next week, this is a 6-club cooperation unit.
What day is that?
This is next
Sorry,
week from-
Roger.
A week from today,
We got to tighten this up.
October 2, week from today, and 10 o'clock, El Sharp.
Okay.
But we've made it a cooperative effort, which is kind of unique with Lions Club. It's not just Jackson Post. Every one of these clubs gets their picture taken, can use it in their newsletter, and it's a great thing. And we get kids coming to play with them. So
Okay, good.
kids.
Thank you very much. Okay, last group.
Community events, and our club has had particularly good luck with our garage sales.
Oh my goodness, you have.
Advertise a membership night. So host an event and invite people to participate in a club project. Church. Also friends and neighbors. Those were our ideas.
I'm going to take a picture of this and post it on our Facebook, and then I'll also send it to you, Teresa. And these are things these are great ideas. Write them down, take them to the clubs, use the information. It's very important. Have fun today.
I was just gonna add one more thing,
Okay.
because I went at the forum, I went to the Young Lions presentations, and there's basically a Young Lions virtual group that covers the country. I mean, it's like all from East Coast to West Coast. I don't know how many members they have, but they meet virtually. And when they have to do service work, they'll pick a day that's, hey, we're gonna, go help at a food bank today. And so wherever anybody's at, they go help at a food bank.
That is awesome.
And so the other thing I was thinking of, we have a few people in that I know of that are younger that are possibly could be interested. And I was thinking about a branch club, like the Concha Branch Club,
Yeah,
and just have a branch club with, college kids or something, they could meet virtually. They wouldn't have to come to meetings. They could do, what they want to do. They can figure out their own
Right.
service projects or tag in with, with our club or whoever.
yeah.
So anyway,
You just gotta find those people that say, hey, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, let me do this. But it all goes back to that classic one response is just ask. When have you had the conversation? I had the conversation with my hairdresser the other day, and I mentioned it twice and she never said no. So I'm going to approach her and my friend's daughter so that they could even do it together. So, thank you, have fun.
great. Thank you, Terry.
Roger, you just brought up a subject that got me thinking of, those, I don't know if they still do them, those, what is it, flash dance? What is that?
Oh,
called?
flash mob. Flash
Yeah,
mob.
those mob. Wouldn't that be interesting to have a lion flash?
Oh,
mob?
Right.
awesome.
There-
Awesome.
There's something, going
Right.
on, tomorrow at 10, they need help over at this church and had a system to communicate, they had a
Right.
flash mob show up. Well,
That's a
I
great idea.
That would be fun. Watching yellow show up.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, thank you, Terry. That was good. That was a great add-on to our membership seminar that we had Thursday. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with our program today. And first, I did want to mention that you have a notebook, and there's quite a few things in there. There's copies of the presentation. There's some forms like meeting report forms and some other things, but I also have a thumb drive for everybody that has all that stuff in PDF or whatever electronically. So if you like the ebook that we have in here, which is a really great resource, it's electronic, and so the links would be live when you pull it up. We can talk about that a little bit later, but anyway, so I just wanted to let you know that we've got all this information. I don't expect you to go through it right now, but at some point you'd want to start reading through some of these things. So, okay, Brian, I think you're going to be first. So this first part is talking about the responsibilities of the zone chair.
Yeah.
And you have a participant manual that has, and some of you, some of you, and I know Stan did, participated in the August 31st zone chair training that LCI, and they talked about this participant manual. They asked everybody to download it. But anyway, there's a section there that says, how many responsibilities of a zone chair can you name? And so I don't know, I know Cheryl and Betty, you guys didn't get this ahead of time, but I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, but let's go to the next slide. I'm sorry, Brian and I didn't, we sort of practiced this, but
We'll make it.
let's see.
So, hi. Everybody should know me. I'm Bryan Cook, zone chair out of Battle Creek, Serial City. We've got Battle Creek, Serial City, Battle Creek Host, Marshall, Bedford, and Penfield are my clubs over there. Before coming to Battle Creek, I was zone chair and president of Hemlock Lions Club outside Saginaw. I was zone chair up there. We moved to Battle Creek, and Roger snagged me for zone chair down here, and that he did before. So there's a lot of zone chair experience probably in this room and right up here. And the goal today is to just kind of give you an overview of what the zone chair is supposed to be doing. And we're happy to have this training, and hats off to Roger for putting a lot of this together for us. So he's done a great job. Basically, our objectives today: understand the position of zone chair, understand the duties of the zone chairperson, understand how the district GLT, GMP coordinators work with the zone chairperson and the workings of the district, learn about a lot of the tools that are available, learn how to conduct meetings, because you'll have several meetings that you'll be in charge of. learn about zone chairperson awards and also how to time to party and celebrate your success on there. The zone chair position is pretty simple. Zone chairperson is a link between the clubs and the district leadership. Okay, you are also a member of the district cabinet. So at all the cabinet meetings, you're expected to be there and participate and vote and do everything else that we do at the district meetings. Okay, you have to remember the communication goes both ways. All right, you want to take the information that the district is trying to doing, take that to your club meetings and club visits. And also, if there's things going on with the clubs that they have suggestions, we need to run that up the flagpole so that the appropriate district people and governors understand what's going on in the clubs, or if there's a concern, or find ways that you can help us as that. So you want to make sure that communication is flowing both ways.
And just in your book, there is a flow chart that has the multi-district flow chart, where everybody sits, and then the district cabinet flow chart, and then a club flow chart. So probably the second tab, reference material, you can look at that and see where you fit.
Duties of the zone chair. One is to further the purpose of the association. This is where we get into this. You're going to find there's a lot of information that the zone chairs do and a lot of things that you're required to do. So we're just going to go through this here. Chair district governors advisory committee meetings or your zone meetings. How many people have had zone meetings already? Anybody? I've got one coming up Monday, so we'll talk about that. Report each district governor advisory committee meeting to do the report once the meeting's done. Coordinate with all the leaderships and people available to promote the club quality initiative in the clubs during your zone. And collaborate with the GLT coordinators to support leadership development in the zone, which Roger is our district GLT right there. So he's the man you want to see. And again, this is about leadership as you go through, and I don't know if this was on my, but the leadership in the clubs, see who can be the next leader. You want to really help them out. And it's find your replacement. You want to be training their replacement, even when you're president of your club or you're an officer of your club. Who's going to take over when you're done? Okay, who's going to take over for me when I'm done with zone chair? Supervise programs, ensure that all clubs operate under their constitution and bylaws, that they're following the rules. Promote representation club at conventions. We have the fall conference coming up here on 16th, and it'd be nice to have all the clubs represented. At that club, so you want to make sure you're putting that out and getting the information out to the clubs for that.
Michigan Forum as well.
Yeah. Visit 2 regular meetings of each club in the zone, and this could be 2, at least 2. Maybe you'll be more to that. You want to attend like the service projects that they have going on if it's available. That your other clubs are doing, as well as go to at least 2 of their meetings during your term, okay, to see how the clubs are actually doing. File the club visitation form, those are in your packet. Resolve any disputes that occur within the clubs or with the district. This is kind of where either you have a club that's struggling and what can they do, or how can you help them, or if they're not quite sure on the district. And again, that's where you don't have to have the answers if you can find somebody that has the answers for them. Okay, if you have an issue. Encourage clubs to collaborate on major projects. We got a zone project coming up in Saginaw here, not Saginaw, in the Battle Creek. We're doing clean up the Kalamazoo River next Saturday, and I'm trying to get all my zone clubs to send people to that. So we've got that going. Encourage club visitations, again, for everybody. Okay, and again, this can be other people in your club to see different clubs. I know Teresa's gone with me to some of the other clubs in the area as president, and just to see and communicate with the other clubs in the area. So that's always good. Utilize the new member orientation program. And again, this came in the banner packet. You have the thumb drive where we put the new member orientation. I'm encouraging my clubs to make that as a program for one of their meetings, because there's a lot of information as we put that together, and So it's, as we worked on that, because there's good information you can review about Lions for the people that have been in the club a while, and there's a lot of good information that the new people are looking to go to. So attend the cabinet meetings, report on all your clubs for there, and make sure you're having some fun. Okay, again, this is not if you're not having fun, it's time to change the water on the minis, and find something else. But you want to make sure that you're enjoying that. Yeah. So, okay, so in a nutshell, basically you want to be available to your clubs, okay, and you want to be a supportive, and you want to be a cheerleader. Okay, it's not, you don't want to go into a club that's struggling and say, boy, you guys, you really need to, yeah, things are not going well. You're not doing any projects, you're not, nobody wants to step up, nobody knows you're here. That's not the way to go to the visit, Hey, I'm here, let me give you some suggestions for some service. Let me give you some suggestions on here, okay? Or have you checked out the My Lion resources on My Lion? So, you want to be helpful, you want to be supportive, and again, be a cheerleader for the club.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. So I was just going to mention that there's so much information. Lions, LCI, I don't know, they just have people churning out information all the time. And, you can go down rabbit holes. It's probably kind of like ancestry.com, it's like you find, oh, here's a thing interesting. Okay, then here's a thing and here's a thing, and so you can really get overwhelmed. Anita?
One thing that we need to do when we recommend that people look at LCI, we need to say, your membership helps pay for that. Why aren't you using it? You need to be using it because the international dues help support that.
Right.
So it's our stuff. Let's look at it rather than asking your zone chair, send me one of these, send me one of these. Go on to you have a computer, right?
Right. But the only problem is that sometimes it's hard to find things.
And you know what I do?
you
I
know,
call LCI.
uh,
Okay, I can't find this at all.
the best way to do it
And
is a
they
Google
find it
search.
for me, or
I've done a Google search many
I
times and
text my
found
pal
exactly what I was
Kelly and
looking for.
it magically appears.
Right. Okay, so part of what Brian was talking about was working with the GLT, GMT, and GST. And recently I've run into people that had no idea what these things meant, what those acronyms meant. And so the GMT is the global membership team. And basically that person and their team are responsible to help develop and grow new clubs. The service team encourages clubs to perform service and get involved with state GST and multiple district projects. And then the GLT is identify and develop future leaders, train and educate. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do in my role as the GLT. Now, all of these positions have a statewide person in charge of that. So there's a state GLT, a state GMT, a state GST. And so then I guess we, even though I haven't heard anything from them, I supposedly work for them, I think. But we're doing what
You
we're doing.
volunteer for them.
That's right. We're doing what we're doing. Kelly?
I have a question,
Sure.
like your role, Roger. Do you guys, and Terry's role, do you have a quota of memberships that they require you to get, or have like a quota that you need to get? Or a goal?
I'll let you answer that, Terry, since that's your
My
job.
goal is 1+. That means 1 member plus. That means based on how many members are lost, because of death and how, people leaving. And however, my goal is 1+. I want more members because my goal for membership is because more members on the ground means more service that can be completed. But it does become an issue when it seems like we're ever hearing is membership,
Right.
membership. And You
the
have to
numbers.
get it in your head. Why is that important?
Right.
And there is a huge reason why it's important, because if you don't have members, you don't do the service. You can't go and clean up the rivers. You can't go and work in the food pantries.
So thank you. So yes, usually the governor establishes a goal for that, and then everybody else kind of follows along with that. So really the goals of the governor trickle down to, you guys essentially. And, when you go to a club visit, you want to know what those goals are so that you can talk to the clubs about what the governor is trying to accomplish and how they can help. From this leadership development slide, so if I come to your club to talk about leadership, this is what I'd be talking about. What are the opportunities? Where can you learn more? Anything that's available, that's what I'm going to be trying to push. So Stan, when I come to your club, that's what. So these are some of the opportunities. Higgins Lake is coming up. And I think they would like to have your entry or your registration by the 8th of October. It's a really good weekend. You learn a lot. There are 2 levels basically open for most everybody, the basic and then the secondary. But you learn a lot of team building. You learn about listening, talking. They have classes on public speaking. And so it's a great time. It's a lot of fun. Plus it's a chance to get away up north where it's very nice and scenic. The Lions Forum in February, where it's sort of like what we did the other night, where we have classes but it's statewide. And so you've got, usually it's very well produced. They have really great speakers and some keynotes and good food. We just did this, the spring leadership thing. Now, the other thing that they have, the Emerging Lions Leadership and the Advanced Lions Leadership. Terry, you might have gone to the ALLI, possibly. Did you go to ALLI?
I went to the ALLI
Right.
and it was awesome.
So those are extremely well done. They are basically intensive training classes about Lionism. And so you learn a lot.
I'd like to see a whole group of us go to the Michigan Lions Forum also in the spring.
Lions University, this is a thing you do on your own. It's not necessarily connected with Lions. I mean, it is, but it's a little separate from LCI. And they give out their awards at the USA Canada Forum, which just occurred in mid-September. And you have a series of classes you take online. And after you finish the classes, you can earn a bachelor's degree or a master's or a doctorate, depending on how far you want to go and how much you want to get involved. So, but they have all kinds of classes. Some of our folks in our club have done it, and they enjoyed it.
Next year, it's in Canada. And again, we would love to get a whole group to go. It's gonna be really fun.
So Nancy and I went to the zone chair training at the USA Lions Forum, Canada Forum. It was good. So then there's lots of online resources. And this little series of slides basically kind of shows you how to log into these things. Now, most of you probably know how to do this, but, and I hope it's still accurate.
Some of it is.
But when you get into, as we were talking, how do you find things? When you go into the resource center, you can either do a Google search, or a lot of times you'll get this menu, and then there's a menu bar. So district administration is kind of down the pike there. When you go into that, you'll see region chairperson manual, meeting minutes, zone and region awards. So these are PDFs usually that have tons of information that you can use to do whatever you need to do as a zone chair to fulfill your responsibilities.
Some of that I checked on this actually last night, just to make sure that was and it's changed a little bit. I couldn't exactly find this page, but still, if you just search zone chair in there, it'll bring up everything in a little different format, and you know, your forms and all the things that are listed here are still available there, as well as the ebook that's coming.
Right.
So
It's going automatically. So this is the My LCI menu. And basically, we've talked about this a lot lately, My LCI versus My Lion. My Lion is primarily a service-based database. My LCI is all the personal information. So as a zone chair, you would, to find like a club health report, you would go into My LCI to find this. We'll talk about those in a little while. And this just shows the login for the My Lion account, or the My LCI even. So you can pick between My LCI or My Lion. And this is the home page.
on the homepage, on the LCI homepage, this is where it has all the information. You can click it. How many have been on this site? Okay, all right. For those that haven't, there's little tabs across the top, like this says home, and then in My Lions Club, and you click that, and then you can, off this report, you can click like My Clubs, and then it'll list all the clubs, and then what do you want to do? Okay, I want to see all the members, I want to see all the reports or the officers, and you can get all that information right off of the screen here. Okay, the thing you have to remember, you can't change any of this. Okay, if there's something you see like up here, they talk about, clubs haven't reported yet. This is your membership, how many are here. This is the things that need to be taken care of. Like maybe there's a club out there hasn't reported their officers, or they haven't done their membership count for the month. Okay, and this is where you're going to get these little informations right here that's under My Task. And that's going to say what you need to do. So that's something you need to be checking in kind of regularly.
Okay, if you are a club officer, in addition to being a zone chair, that little blue box up at the top.
Yep.
Tells you that you can change what you are.
Yep, right.
Like, I am my
Right up here,
club's
there's a-
treasurer, but I'm
Yeah.
also a zone chair. And you can switch between the two. If I want to look at my club, I only want to look at my club, not all the clubs. But I made a phone call to find that out. What is that blue box?
Yeah, you can change your role if you have more than one role.
Yes.
Okay, and I did that a lot when I was president of the Hemlock Club and also zone chair. Okay, you sign in as zone chair and you get, okay, oh, we need to report something here. Okay, well then to change that, I have to go into my profile and say, okay, now I'm the president, which brings up basically the same screen, but gives you other things, and then you can.
Only for
do
his
different
club.
things. But only for
And
my club.
as president, he could modify things, but only for his club.
Yeah.
Because that's what he has rights to.
Correct.
As treasurer, I can't modify anything, so I can't mess it up.
Yep, that's what I
Bryan
am
can
now.
mess it up.
Yep, it'll give you another listing, but you can't change it because I'm treasurer now as well. Okay,
Right.
but there's a lot of good information on here. And again, this is the membership. This is kind of the numbers thing of what people are doing on that screen. It's very helpful. And then you can find out what clubs need to take care of things and communicate that to them. Because as a zone chair, all I can do is look at it. Okay, and get the report and then follow up on there.
And just and I didn't know this was going to happen, but as the GLT, I see all the clubs. I will get a report that has all the clubs in the district. So it's kind of like, oh my God, it's a lot. So one of the things that's really important, and you would get an email on this every month as a zone chair, is your club health assessment. So like we just talked about that menu there, when you open it up and if your role is set for zone chair, then you'll automatically, you can automatically get that. So so it has, I don't know about the CEP now, but certainly has the membership. Is there a net gain or loss? Have they donated to LCIF? There's more on here, and this is what it looks like. And a little later, we have part of this class is going to be looking a little more closely at the health assessment report and some, like strategies to help clubs, overcome some of their difficulties. But yeah, this is it's an eye chart. It took me a long time to figure out how to read this thing and what it even meant. What do these different columns mean? So it's
Well, and also, is it a function of the clubs not reporting?
well, it can all that.
It's on.
Because
Right.
my goal is, if a club is not reporting, you're gonna be reporting.
Mhm. Right. So that shows up, and roughly, I did a count this.
Well,
Yeah,
but that's my goal for the year.
Right.
We get you to reporting every month.
right. So yeah, that's a big problem, because even at the forum, they said like roughly half the clubs everywhere are reporting or not reporting, I should say. And it's the same, when I look at our district, it's like there's probably half of them that aren't reporting anything.
The
So
biggest question is, you gotta ask is why? And
There's-
Dave Hill last night put in, 6 or 8 different clubs members or officers into my LCI last night. I mean, they hadn't even put their officers in. So we got everybody in the district's officers are in right now, so there's
And I
no,
can tell you, last
no
year that
reason.
happened in February
well, it happened
of
this month.
2021. It was that hard, so, but
Right.
it took until February to get some of the
Yeah.
clubs to say who their officers were, so we could input them.
I think people just have an
Well, last
excuse
year
and it takes
was,
too much time.
That's
And
hard.
thanks to Kelly Ruby, because you did a lot of phone calls when you were putting the roster together.
Yeah, and I
to
made
figure out what that
enemies.
information was.
See and which one.
A lot of
Talking more about this later, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's move on. We'll move on.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
so this is when you go someplace, you can get reimbursed. There's a budget, I think, for the
Yeah.
zone shares. Now, one of the things, this talks about mileage, and my understanding is it's mileage that you can get reimbursed for. Probably relates to whatever the district policy is on it. But I think is it like $75 or something like that?
It's 50 cents a mile.
50 cents. So
50
this
cents a mile.
this chart is out of date because it said 30 cents a mile.
Oh,
but I
yeah,
haven't
it's
seen an
50
updated.
cents.
It is 50 cents a mile. We decided that in the fall of 2019.
Okay, when you go to a meeting, what do you wear?
Kind of like that.
It depends on what kind of club you're going to.
It depends on the club. So Roger Spriggs used to say, you should dress one level above whatever the club that you're going to go visit. So if they're casual, then maybe you want to wear, if you've got your jacket with, your little wheel on it, kind of let you stand out a little bit. It depends on the club. If you feel comfortable with them and they're comfortable with you, then you can do what you want to do. But use your best judgment. I remember Dave Hill coming to our club one time to visit as the district governor. At that time, we were a formal club, okay? So every meeting, the men wore jackets and ties. And Dave came in as, kind of shirt, not a polo shirt, but a long sleeve, the one he always wears. And he just like, oh my God.
Well, he did the opposite too, because he wore the jacket and worked with U of M club.
Oh.
And they said, what the heck are all these buttons and whistles? And
Right.
so he realized that U of M club, he had to tone it down a little bit.
Know your club. Know your club.
Always wear your name tag up.
Okay, so we've already started the year as being zone chairs. So, this, obviously, we would have done this normally in April after you were maybe asked to be a zone chair, but hadn't started yet. So now we're into September, almost October, and some of you have had had some zone meetings, but, these are just some things to think about in terms of how you want to plan your year and what you plan to do. Yeah, don't show up uninvited. Call the president, confirm the visit, call them again and make sure that they know you're coming. One of the things that I find interesting is that sometimes they'll offer to buy dinner. I never expect them to pay for me. If it's a dinner club or something, I don't expect that. I always offer to pay first. And sometimes they'll say, yeah, that's great. Other times they'll say, no, it's on us tonight. So, you just sort of have to play that by ear. But generally, my advice is to, offer to pay if they're having dinner. Just a few more things about being prepared. Have an induction ceremony. There's one in your book. So if a new member happens to be there and they say, oh, Anita, can you install our new member for us?
I'd probably say no.
And so have that available.
Now you can't say that.
The invocation, there's 2 or 3 different invocations in your book. And this is kind of interesting. You may be surprised that you're in the program. So have cash for dinner and raffle tickets, like we just talked about. When you're at the club meeting, mingle and meet the members. Share ideas from other clubs. That's particularly useful because a lot of clubs don't get out and see what other clubs are doing. So, if you go and they're talking about things, and feel free to suggest ideas. Always keep, that's one of the main things. I would prepare a sheet of what's happening because again, a lot of clubs don't really look out beyond themselves. And so they're not really aware. Maybe they don't answer the emails or maybe they don't get emails. We find that a lot that even secretaries don't always, communicate with their members about what's going on, even though they get all the things, the secretary is the first one to get something and the president. We talked about leadership. Look out for that special lion that seems to be very motivated and, upbeat and willing to get involved in things and then talk to them and promote them getting more involved. Okay, so district governor programs and requests. So the goals, you want to make sure that they know what the governor is talking about and not wait for the governor to come visit and tell them about it. So get a head start. Zone projects and club interaction, leadership development, club growth and retention, of course. And then finally look for your replacement. I was very happy to meet Bryan at the Michigan Forum. Aha. So what do you do at the club meeting? So you can talk about the health assessment. I usually find that if there's an issue, don't just bring it up at the club, but probably talk to the president, about it. And, and if there's things that he would like to talk about in the meeting to try to, encourage people to do more, do, whatever, that's kind of the best place to do that. Talk about what the club needs. How can you help them? Service projects, the club quality initiative. That's one of the things that, clubs can do to kind of do a little self-assessment of where they are and how their members feel about where they are. And then how do you move forward from that? If you identify that you have an issue with communication or, just not getting a lot of service projects done, how do you fix that, with your club? Again, leadership opportunities, events coming up. Look for a few things at the club. Do they have a banner, an American flag? Do they, how do they do their agenda? Do they have an agenda? So a lot of these things are on the report, and there's a couple of reports that you can use that are in your book. And they have some checkoffs that you can check it off to see. And then those reports get submitted to the governor. And if there's something, every club's different. Every club does it a different way. So there's no absolute right or wrong, because they have this program called Your Club, Your Way, so you can expect that not every club is going to be the same. But if you're seeing that there is some big issue, then those are kind of things you might want to write in the report to send to the governor. And this is kind of what one of them looks like. These are fillable PDFs. So you can put them, just fill them out online. And again, those are in the thumb drive that I'll give you. This is the zone meetings. This is talking about zone meetings.
These are the zone meetings that we're talking about. This is where you're gonna bring your clubs from your zone together for a meeting. And again, it's to share the information, communicate with the clubs, try to, embrace them all working together, okay? So you're supposed to hold 3 meetings during the year. The first one is gonna be on service, so you wanna focus on service. Do people have service projects that they're working on or share different service ideas that these clubs can get going? The second one is on membership. Again, find different ways they can get new members, or if they're struggling with members, to try to find ways to recruit new members and retain members in their club. And then the third meeting is on leadership, and that's usually like in February, March, or something like that. Helping them find the officers for the year and that information. Sometimes there's also, you can also have a fourth one, like in May-ish, May or early June, where the new officers are in, get them together, invite all the new officers, celebrate the old officers that have done a great job for the year, and embrace the new ones coming in, so they have a good idea as well. So that could be like a picnic or social event or something like that. So maybe even a possible fourth meeting for that. Okay, combined with other zones, if desired, if you got a couple of you are fairly close, you can have as many as you can. Plan ahead. I just want to try to get that date out as soon as you can out to everybody, and where you're going to have it. At the zone meetings, you'd like to have the president and the secretary of each club. Everybody else is invited. They can attend if they like, but the more officers you get, the better it's going to be for that. And invite Roger, your GLTs, all your other coordinators, to those meetings, or let them know that you're having them if they would like to come. And if there's something special they would like to talk about at that meeting as well, gives them a chance to see 4 or 5 clubs all at once, rather than doing individual program. Plan a program, as we talked about, so you got an idea what you're gonna be doing. And make sure you have an agenda, and make sure you copy it so you can hand it out at the meetings as well. And you want to make it fun, okay? Especially your first one, try to make it fun and enjoyable, because you're going to tell these people, okay, we're going to meet in November and we're going to meet in March. And they're going to say, okay, well, I went to one, I'm not going to go. I'll send somebody else the next one. So you want to make it fun and enjoyable and worthwhile for them as well, okay? These are some of the pitfalls, some of the things you don't want to have happen or to focus on as you get that meeting. Find a suitable room that's going to be quiet. It's going to be suitable size and layout for what you want to do, depending what you're doing. This room was very nice. I mean, you've got a lot of tech, so something like this would be great. A lot of people are meeting at restaurants. Okay, do they have a separate conference room where you're not going to be in the flow of everything, or disrupting with that? Or do they have electronics available? Make sure they have a flag, or that's something you want to carry in your pocket in case there isn't one. Do we need projectors or screens? Again, that depends on the program that you're having. So if there's any technology that they need, you want to make sure that's available. Plan your night when all zone clubs are available. I found that in my area, nobody meets on Monday nights. So that's when my zone meetings will be on Monday nights, because nobody else has meetings that night. Otherwise, you're going to be conflicting with some of the other clubs. We talked about the sound systems. Invite early and often. Like I said, email is great, okay, but again, like Roger talked about with the club visits, those phone calls, Hi Teresa, this is Bryan, I'm your zone chair, and just want to make sure we're on for Tuesday night, or like the week before, even that day before, to make sure everybody is reminded of that as well, okay? You can nominate the invocation, the pledge that you may want to nominate somebody to do that. and plan the meals. Like, as you get down the meals, are we gonna have a meal? Does everybody know that we're having a meal, or does everybody know that we're just having snacks and, you know, coffee and cake, something like that? Okay, or is it a dinner meeting at the restaurant? So you need to make sure that they know that they need to bring their $20 to pay for their meal at the restaurant for that, so, okay.
Yeah, just, I was gonna add one thing, and now I can't remember what it was. Oh, ask a club to host it.
Mhm.
So you can ask a club to say, hey, we're gonna have a zone meeting, who would like to host this meeting or the next meeting? You get somebody to do the first one, and then at the next one, you ask, okay, who would like to host this? And so let them, you know, kind of do some of these things, you know, make sure that, you know, there's a place, and if they're gonna have a meal or whatever is happening. And so that helps the zone chair not have to do quite so much work, you know, in it, you know, for one of these meetings, and then have their folks like do the pledge, or, you know, if you're gonna have a raffle, do the raffle and that sort of thing. And so, you know, most clubs really, you know, are willing to help out with those things. So I was gonna say, I used to give out door prizes, you know,
Yeah.
in our meetings.
Good ones.
So we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Turkeyville.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Turkeyville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Find
that's
a
where it
unique
goes, you
place
know,
to go.
about making it fun and enjoyable for the meeting, and good ideas, Roger. So this just talks about the agenda for the zone meeting. You know, you want to have an idea of what you're going to talk about. Okay, so you don't get there and, well, you know, what's anybody want to talk about, or everybody's club doing okay? They go, oh, yeah, okay, all right, thanks for coming. Okay, so you want to make sure you got different things on that, okay? And then again, I think this is in your packet, or it's available online with your resources. This is a zone meeting report. Once you've had your meeting, you fill this out, and that goes to the governor, district governor, probably secretary, district secretary. So they have that, and probably make sure to copy Roger. Just copy Roger on everything. That's what I do.
One thing about the zone chair meetings, or the zone meetings, in your book, there's like it's a booklet, really. It's called Model District Governor Advisory Meetings, or zone meetings, you know. So anyway, it talks about a lot of these things and how to set it up, and what kind of programs you might want to do. So it's a pretty good resource, you know, for a zone chair to look through and kind of get familiar with. Cabinet. This is me. No, that's still you. No, it's me. So the cabinet meeting, you're part of the cabinet. So when Terry has a cabinet meeting, try to go. And or if you don't go, have a report to send in. They're going to ask you for that. Be an active participant. You have a vote in what happens in the district. So you know, you guys are very important in terms of the workings of the district. So think about that, and try to be as active as you can. The GAT, GLT, GMT, GST used to have a vote. Now we don't. So somehow or other they changed that. But anyway. So any questions about the cabinet meeting? You guys have all been to them?
Next one's
Yeah,
coming
and
up.
anybody can go to a cabinet meeting. And I think the next one's in October after the fall conference. Right.
16.
Yep. So
That's what I said.
plan now.
60.
Okay, so then, you know, Lions is all about recognition.
I'll be there on the 15th.
We hope so. Lions is all about recognition. So there is a form you can fill out. And if you fulfill all the requirements that they ask for, you can send this in and you can get a zone chair award. And that's what it looks like. So there's kind of a checkbox, zone chair award application. So, you know, they don't go through and check these things. So it's kind of on your honor to fill this out correctly. And, you know, and you might want to look at it early on, you know, like now, to see what they're asking for, and so you don't get to the end of the year and you say, oh, gee, I could have done that, it's, and so that's sort of like the Club Excellence Award, which I just learned about recently, where you have a checklist, and did you get a new member? Did you, do this or did you do that? If you start looking at it now, you can, make sure that your club does these things so that at the end of the year, you can fill it out and just send it in and you'll get a patch probably. So, anyway, I just learned about that recently at the forum, actually, as part of the CEP process, Club Quality Initiative, I guess.
Just make sure you get it to your district governor and you encourage your district governor to sign it on time, because it's not acceptable after.
Thank you, Kelly. That's very important. Okay, time to party. So the fourth zone meeting, they actually, LCI tells you that you should have 4 meetings. And so the 3 that Bryan discussed, and then the 4th one is sort of like whatever you want to do. So if you wanted to have a celebration of the year for all your zones or all your, your clubs in your zone, you could do it then.
If they did.
But if they really, I don't know that I had a hard enough time getting 3 in, let alone 4. So we don't have a feedback evaluation for you to fill out today, but we are interested in one of the things we, with Kathy as our IT person, she's been pretty good about like registration forms online. And so I've asked her to put together like an evaluation form online so that we could, like for folks that came to our training the other night, you can just go in and fill it out, pretty simple one. Because whenever you go to a meeting and they give you an evaluation form and they ask you to, fill it out and drop it in a box, and, you might get some of them back. Most people wad it up and throw it away. But the forum had an interesting way to do this. They put, you could download an app on your phone and you could modify your schedule so that it would tell you and give you alerts when your next class is going to be. And then associated with, when you clicked on that class, it would had all the information about where it was and where location. Then the last part of it was feedback. So you could, in your phone app, you could go right to it and fill out an evaluation right on the spot, which was really cool. And it also kind of became its own little social network situation, because you could enter your profile, and then other people that entered their profiles, you could talk to them. You could send them messages or connect like you do on LinkedIn, and and make a lot of different contacts. And so nobody from my club, I don't think, did that. I got a few messages from people that I didn't know, they wanted to connect. And so, but anyway, there's always new things in technology that make our lives easier. So anyway, thank you. Thank you all for sitting through this. And I think we're going to take a break. And the next part of this is going to be the club assessment, health assessment. So the next presentation.
Well, don't you want to know your feedback? That was part of it.
Yeah.
You zoomed right over it.
What's your feedback?
Just wanted to tell you guys, thank you for taking time to do this for us. It was very helpful, and I really love your presentation up there with all your little graphics. It's really a good
Well,
job.
we can give PDG Ryder Spriggs credit for that, because we stole some of that stuff from him.
Well, it's good.
He had it, Roger modified it, we got together in June, and we said, okay, let's tweak this, tweak
Right.
this, and so it just
Well,
keeps
but that's
growing.
good. You use tools that were already available.
Steal shamelessly, or whatever they
That's
call
right.
it.
The presentation, this is in your
Yes.
handbook that Roger put together as well.
And it's
And a lot
also,
of those copies of the forms are in there, okay, but be sure if you need other ones, just go online to my line, and there, you can find them there as well. Okay,
Very nice job.
so there you go. All right.
there's your thumb drive, which is nice. All that stuff also.
So if you need to refill the candy, now's the time, 2 o'clock.
Yep.
2 o'clock or sooner.
How you doing, Mary Ann?
They invited me to speak and stuff, and usually, and I just might just kind of say hello.
All right, yeah.
So would you like?
Because it's your meeting. It's your gift.
Everybody had their little flyer that we handed out. Everybody has one.
Yes.
All right, this is the Assessing Club Health Participant Manual.
Okay, we're rolling. Chris, you got this?
Cheryl, do you guys have one of these?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All righty, so the next, so we'll try to get out of here by 2:30. So if we can kind of get ourselves around and this shouldn't take too long, but it is important. So it's probably one of the most important things that these days we need to be thinking about, because we have a lot of clubs that aren't really healthy. And so that's, you know, just something to be aware of. And, you know, and you may see that in your regions and zones. So what we want to try to accomplish today, identify characteristics of healthy clubs, look at the club health assessment reports, and then resources to boost club health. So this is kind of an interactive one. There will be some activities as we go along. So what do you think? What do you think the characteristics of a healthy club are? And you guys can just call them out.
Regular attendance.
Regular, okay.
We're doing activities, projects.
Doing activities, okay. What else?
Lions stepping up to take positions of leadership.
There you go.
Leadership being knowledgeable of what should and should not be going on.
Yep,
Paying their bills and they're doing their reporting.
good.
Well, they're
Yeah.
making our jobs easier.
Right.
Because I can tell you, as the former district treasurer, every club that had a problem, it's no longer a club, wasn't paying their bills. That's your first tip. And I would bet they weren't filling out their reports either.
Right.
But that was my first tip. We have a problem.
That's good. So, so here's some elements of a healthy club. Club members conduct meaningful service activities. Notice that's first on the list, service. Membership growth and retaining members. So if you get new members in, what are you doing to keep them? You know, are you keeping them busy? And, you know, we've gotten a few new members recently, and they're really wanting to do stuff. And so, you know, we've got to kind of like, okay, because you get into a pattern, you know, I mean, you get into a habit of, okay, well, we do this at this time and this time, and we'll just look forward to that. You know, folks come in and they say, well, what are you doing now? You know, what's happening right now? And so you need to be able to talk about that. Communication. How do you communicate with your members? Email, text, webpage. You know, a lot of older Lions don't even use computers. So how do you talk to them? We have a guy that has an iPad. And so if I send an email and it shows up on his iPad, to him, that's communication. But if you send him an attachment like a newsletter, he's just like, I don't hear anything. I don't know what's going on. I don't get anything. And I said, okay. So then maybe you're mailing stuff, you know, to people. So it takes, I found this several years ago with young people. I was involved in my church youth group. And it's like, how do you communicate with these folks? You know, what do you, text was pretty much it. You have regular events that are positive and meaningful. And again, talk about leadership training. You know, do they participate in leadership training? And are they in good standing and reports regularly, Anita? So all things that indicate a healthy club. So what indicators should I use to determine whether my zone clubs are healthy? Anybody have any ideas about that? Based on what little we've talked about today, but otherwise your experience. And Anita mentioned paying their bills was a start,
So,
and reports
you know,
probably.
international is your first step.
Yeah.
You know, because international, and you always need to say this to clubs, prioritize your international dues. And the reason why is because your international dues, whether or not they're paid in full, will determine at the spring conference whether or not your club's delegates can vote.
I remember a couple of years ago, there was a mad dash for clubs to get their district dues in, and probably their international dues, because roughly, I don't know how many, it was a large percentage of clubs had not done that. And so they sent a reminder out to say, okay, if you haven't paid your dues, you can't vote.
Right.
And
Well,
people
and
were
that's in the
surprised about that,
bylaws.
you know? Yeah,
You cannot be credentialed
right.
to vote as a delegate if your club is not in good standing at the international level.
Right.
So if a club must prioritize their dues, international dues. The other thing is international is going to begin to levy late fees.
Yeah, they,
District doesn't levy any late fees. So if you have to wait a couple of months on that, okay,
yeah,
always
COVID,
prioritize international.
with COVID, they lifted a lot of that.
Yes, but they are
lifted a lot of
putting it
those
back in
fines.
place.
Right.
So you always specify prioritize international dues. That affects you far more than your district dues.
Good. That's great to know. Because not everybody knows that. Although I would say
Well, I'll never put
most
it in writing,
treasurers,
just
most,
an FYI.
I would say most treasurers I've run into are pretty good about that. You know, so I have not had that experience. You know,
Well,
that
it's
a
whether or
club
not the
wasn't
club is
paying.
healthy,
Right, yeah,
has a healthy admin balance.
right. So here is the assessment report again. And this one has a little bit more guidance in terms of what these things are, what these different columns are. So number one, right at the top is net growth. Do you have a net growth or a net loss? So a net loss shows up in red. And it doesn't look like any, or well, I guess it just shows up as a minus. So it's not a red, although you might show up.
It
Red's
shows
really
up
bad.
in a red, I think, when you're not at minus 10 or under.
Number two is the service activity reporting. How long has it been since a service activity has been reported? And if it's after 12 months, it goes to red. But it'll tell you how many months it's been since a service activity has been reported. So that's an indicator. Number three is president rotation. Nobody mentioned that. So how often do presidents repeat themselves? I think I heard of a new record. One of our members, I won't name the club, but it's not in our district actually, but they had been president 17 years and moved away. In fact, he said, I had to move to keep from being president again. And he transferred to our club. And he goes, yeah, I was president 17 years and I had to move to get out of it. So anyway, that's not helpful. But it's hard. I don't know. I mean, not every club is like this, but some clubs have a real hard time finding somebody that wants to step up and be president. And go ahead, Stan.
Well, a data point around the service activity, again, that's putting things into
Yeah.
the,
My lion
My lion.
now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people, we talked about, a lot of people just haven't gotten their heads around that, because a lot of people will say, well, I used to use my LCI all the time, and I was great, but now they got this new thing. And I don't know how to use it. And so that's one of the things that I think is a priority for me, is to sponsor more training sessions with my line, whether it's virtual or however we do it. But I think that's something that's really needed in the district, is just getting more people used to it. And the other thing about it is that there's so much that a secretary does. And theoretically with my lion, anybody can post service activities. Now, I don't know, Brian, if you figured out if that's correct or not, but
No.
There's some question about
Wording
that.
thing, there was the training session on that Thursday.
right.
You know, yes, anybody can go in there and report out a project or activity, but the secretary, the president, or the president still has to go in there and submit that or submit it before it's gonna show up, okay? Or the service coordinator. And
Right.
that's what I'm gonna kind of look at, and Teresa and I have talked about that with our club. You can have a service coordinator who also now would be able to do that. And that service coordinator could do, I think they could do nothing but do the service, enter the service hours, and that would take that off of that secretary. It seems to have a lot to do.
Okay, Terry, you were gonna mention something.
Nancy can do it.
Maybe.
Okay.
Mary Ann had a question at the president training about that. She has a vice president, her secretary reports, but they have other things that they just found out that they'd like to report. And her vice president wouldn't like to do that, but they were trying to figure out how to do that. So I think if they could make the vice president the service coordinator, then that would solve the problem.
I think the secretary has to name those people. So the
Yes.
secretary would have to designate somebody as a
My
service
LCI.
coordinator
There are those
in my LCI, in my LCI.
The service.
And also the other,
person to contact is Dave Hill. If you can't get in there, because he just worked on it yesterday. He went in and, because we weren't sure about this service coordinator position. And so, because Lorraine was having problems with it. So we went in, or he went in, and sure enough, that's the person to do it. And that takes a lot of heat off that secretary, who was doing so many other things.
there's another position which you can also designate as a club administrator. And that's kind of similar thing, but they have more power. They have the same powers as the secretary does. So for instance, in clubs where the secretary doesn't own a computer, you know, you can have a club administrator who basically does all of the online functions that a secretary would be expected to do, like the membership reporting, you know, just the officer reporting, any of that kind of reporting where you have to do it online. Be done by the club administrator. So there's a couple of more positions. The club service chair coordinator is. Mary Ann, did you have another question?
Well, I do, because I've tried to get someone appointed, so we would like our Vice President Bill Sweet to be able to do that. And I sent him an email saying that our secretary, it sounded like, would have to give them their password and login information to do that. Now it sounds like that's not the case. I'd like him to be able to report our service hours. So if someone can tell us how we can get him to do that, I mean, we've tried and we've been unable to. So thank you, Nancy, for asking my question. But I don't know if Dave Hill needs to help with that, or how we need to do that. I'm not sure how to go about getting him.
Dave's going to give you a call.
Okay.
About it. Nancy volunteered Dave to give you a call to talk about it. But we think that the secretary should be able to designate that person as a service coordinator.
Okay, I can send our secretary an email and request that he do that.
Right. And so he may not know how to do that, but you know, that's something that I think the secretary has the power to do, just like a club administrator, or, you know, when they put in the officers, Because all that goes into LCI, and when it comes back to your, like in your database, it'll show who's got these positions.
So he needs to go into my LCI and designate him as the service coordinator. I can ask him to try to do that.
Okay, why don't you try that, and then, and we'll also follow up with Dave.
And that's fine, because I think I have Dave Hill's phone number. If I can't do it, then I can call Dave. That's fine too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay.
Dave thanks you.
I know.
Way to go, Dave. So the last thing, so number 4 and number 5, membership reporting history. So this is like the monthly membership roster. So if you get a new member, have they reported them? So that's that particular column, number 4. And this is where I had trouble trying to even interpret what these things were, and I didn't have the benefit of this slide here to kind of give me a roadmap as to what I ought to be looking at. Number 5 is this club status. And so like to Anita's point, with clubs that haven't paid their dues for a certain amount of time, they can have a different status. Like active is everything's good. Canceled means they're done. They've had their charter pulled. And status, or I think it's called status quo, means that they're kind of on the bubble. So there's some.
I think they may have an inactive also where the charter is still active, but the club
Right.
has no members.
Right.
And I believe that the district has 2 or 3 charters like that.
Mhm. Right. Chelsea is one.
Chelsea is one, Tecumseh's one, and Munith is one. But each of those cost the district between $150 and $250 because we paid their outstanding balance on their international dues to keep it. Just an FYI.
So we talked about where you can find these, and this tells you that you can find it, the membership reports toolbox or the club district health assessments link to access the reports. Now, how you get to those links, you might just have to Google it, and it'll probably take you to the link. So now you get to think a little bit. So this is where this your handbook comes into play. So there's and you guys can do this as tables, but there's some scenarios here, and so you think about this being one of your clubs where you're looking at their health assessment and decide whether or not it's a healthy club, a club that is struggling, or somewhere in between. So club number one, the net growth year to date is 4 members. Month since last service activity report filed was 0. President rotation terms repeated, none. And month since last MMR, none. And club status is active. What level of health is this club? They are a healthy club. Everybody think that's a healthy club?
Did you say 4 new members,
4 new members.
but doing nothing? A report?
No, they've reported. They're not behind in their reports.
Now
So-
say it again.
So months since last service activity report was filed, that's in number 2 here. So how long has it been since I reported service? 0 months. So in other words, they're up to date.
Okay.
So does everybody think this sounds like a pretty healthy club?
And net growth, number 1, the net growth year to date.
Plus 4. Let's look at number 2, the second one. And you can look at this too. It's in your packet. Net growth is 3 members. Not bad. And this is like cumulative, okay? So like as of this month, they had 3 new members. Months since last
We're not
service.
finding it in our packet. No one
Oh.
is. It's right here.
It's right here. It's this,
Right here.
it's not in your book.
Okay.
It's in this.
It's not in your
No.
book.
It's in this.
We don't have that.
We don't have that.
We don't have that.
We don't have that one.
But it is in the slides.
No, we just have this one.
That's a different.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have that.
I'm sorry.
We're missing an
But
action.
I don't have. Right, but you can't see it.
Then what's left of it?
Missed the night.
They missed the whole.
Sorry about that.
I'm like, where are we reading this?
Okay, page one. I've had that happen to me before.
Confused.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You guys might have to share one.
No,
You got
we
more
got
one?
You have one. It's right there.
That's the other one.
That's the other thing.
It's
That's
not-
the
it's not-
zone share.
No.
Would you just listen to me? We're in the zone.
You're in the zone.
Watch those two up front.
Terry needs one.
They've been in prison.
Terry needs one.
They just got out of
They
prison.
just got out of prison. Thank
We're
you.
on furlough.
All right.
So you're walking.
We're not go back by 6:00 tomorrow.
They're under strict supervision.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
All righty. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, number two. We talked
Sorry,
about number one.
Roger. All right, now
Go,
we're
Roger,
ready.
go.
Okay.
Number two.
How to control your crowd.
Yeehaw. Okay, number two, net growth, 3 members. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, months since last service activity reported, 0 months. President rotation terms repeated, 7. Months since last MMR is 1. So what level are they?
You're not too healthy.
Mediums. They're semi-healthy. They have a pool.
What's our choices?
They're good. They just need a little coaching.
I would say that they are falling into, we're gonna do the same things over and over since they're president and they're forever.
You mean complacency?
Probably,
That's a good
Yeah,
word.
they're-
So what do you think? So we
you know, they're probably a steady Eddie club
discuss.
because they are
They're not
doing
too
what they
healthy.
need to do, except they're not
They're not.
improving.
They're not.
Develop some leaders.
In another organization I belong to, they call that plateauing.
Yes.
Yes.
So
It's nice, it looks nice around here, let's stay here.
Stay the same.
So while you're looking through that, Roger, I have a question for
Sure,
everybody
go
here.
ahead.
So have you assessed your own club? Being a zone chair? Of where your own club falls short? Just curious.
I think it's our president
Probably.
or the treasurer.
I don't know what I love.
We're the president treasurer.
Just curious.
So dang it.
So does he have an index page?
Okay, so, so the book says, Club 2 could either be a healthy club, although one with leadership issues, or a club that is somewhere between, again, due to the leadership rotation issues. So they're kind of doing what they need to do, but they're not getting new people to come up to lead the group. And so, you know, we have a club in our area that they couldn't get anybody to volunteer to be the president. So what they finally agreed on was that they would run it by committee, and they designated a person to be the president, but then they would run the meetings, you know, like their cabinet people would take turns running the meetings. So, you know, I mean, it worked for them. You know, whether or not they were doing everything that they really needed to be doing as president is another question, but, you know, it helped them at least get over the hump of not being able to say, or being able to say that, hey, we don't have anybody that can be president. I mean, the club I'm in almost folded because nobody would volunteer to be the president. And they said, well, if we don't have a president, we don't have a club. You know, and then finally somebody says, oh, okay, I'll do it, you know. And so then we started getting some new people in, you know, that were willing to step up, and so then that kind of kicked things off again. But it got to the point where it was pretty, as Stan says, plateaued, you know. So number 3, let's see, let's look at number 3. That's just where we start getting a little bit dicier. Net growth -5. Month since last service report, 4 months. President rotation repeated 3 times. Month since last MMR, 6. And then club status quo.
They
What
need
do
a
you think?
cheerleader.
Would you call them healthy,
No.
struggling?
Struggling.
Struggling, yeah. And then, let's see, number 4, net growth is 4 members, month since last activity report 2, president rotation terms repeated none, month since last MMR 1, and then club status active. So
They just
what's that sound like?
sounds like they might have been on vacation and forgot.
Probably healthy, but obviously they have a reporting issue. They're not reporting as often as they should.
Technologically inclined.
Right. So
Their
the,
service chairman has not been identified.
right, exactly. So the next thing is, what are some of the resources available that could help these clubs, okay? So health assessment strategies. Now, this is on page 3 of your handbook, of your participant handbook. Improving club quality webpage, and then your peers. So let's start with your peers. You know, there's other people you know that, you know, might have more experience than you do with a club that's maybe struggling. So, and I've done this before, you know, reach out to somebody, phone a friend. What do I do? How do I help these guys? But on your own, club action strategies is kind of an interesting thing. And again, one of those things that I'd never seen before we started talking about doing this class. But it's, if you turn to page 3, and it's a little hard to read, but, and it's kind of small. But it basically is like a troubleshooting guide for a club. Pretty interesting. So what's the situation? Losing members. And then it says to going further, note length of membership service to see if the club is losing new or established members and adjust the strategy accordingly. So what might be the problem? Poor club meetings, club not able to support the activities that are meaningful, not providing relevant service, poor new member orientation, lack of new member recruiting, and other reasons. So then over on the right-hand column are some possible actions you could take. So this is where you're going to see links to a lot of the booklets that LCI has. And like member status, and here's one I have not seen, the former member satisfaction survey. You know, and I suppose this is, I've not looked at this, but you know, you give it to somebody that's quit your club and say, could you fill this out for me? And so I see what we need to fix. Your club, your way. So a lot of clubs think that, you know, if I can't, like we had a guy that said, well, you guys are going to kick me out because I haven't been to a meeting. Well, our club used to have, you know, almost require attendance. And actually in the bylaws it said, if you miss more than 4 meetings, you're done. You're going to be removed from the club. And we got rid of that several years ago. You know, because not everybody can come to a meeting. And so, you know, I mean, people get in their head, well, I have to do this, or we have to do this, or we can't function. It's kind of like the president thing. You know, they figured out a way to continue on without actually having to have somebody say, I'll be the president. You know, they just had to have a guy that said, okay, you can put my name down, put my email address in, and I'll give the information to whoever needs it when it comes to me. So, Stan,
I
what's
don't want
like,
to take us down a rabbit hole, but the whole idea of the bylaws for each club,
right?
do those ever get submitted to international, or is there a repository of those?
Not that I'm aware of. Terry, do you know anything about that?
No.
I will tell you that bylaws are important for each club to have, because I recently had a club that called me. They were having an issue with their 501c3 or C4, and they were applying for a 501c3. And they said, this is the IRS, said, we need a copy of your bylaws. And so they had been using the district's bylaws as their bylaws. And they sent them that, and they said, no, this isn't good enough. You know, this is not your bylaws, this is somebody else's bylaws. So they had to quickly come up with a set of bylaws of their own. Now, you know, the rule is you have to follow the LCI international. You can add things, you know, but you can't just kind of take that international bylaws and say, yeah, we're not going to do that. You know, you have to follow, at a minimum, you have to follow that. So then, like, we have a couple of things in ours, that's like an award or a status, membership status. It's a little different, you know, so, but otherwise it's pretty well follows right along with LCIs. So anyway, so we don't have to go through, like, one of the things we were asked to do here is, okay, if you look at all these different clubs that we just talked about, whether they're healthy or struggling, is how would you fix them based on, you know, the different action strategies that we have here? How would you, what things would you use to help them get better? So this chart, and actually I'll have to send this to you guys because I don't think I put it in your, I think it is in your, in your thumb drive. I know it's, you have it here and you can look it up, but you know, it essentially is feeding you different resources that LCI has that you can go to see, okay, maybe this will help this club, you know, and blueprint for your club, your way, you know, new member orientation. And by the way, you know, the NAMI team came up with a new member orientation that you can customize for your club. It kind of goes through the international and district part, and then it has a section where you can actually put in your club history. And so that when you're showing it to a new member, you can say, okay, you know, our club was chartered in 1958. These are the projects we work on, and these are some of the people that, you know, you see pictures of people doing things. And so you can take this PowerPoint, basically modify it to fit your club, and then show it. And somebody mentioned, I think, Bryan, you were talking about that, having it as a program. So, because we, as in the NAMI team, and Cheryl, you remember this, we talked about the fact that there's a lot of members that have been around for a long time, you know, that probably need to be reminded of what, you know, here's what we're supposed to be doing, you know, and here's what we do. You know, I've seen clubs that really don't care about the district, you know, and even less about LCI, other than the fact that they have to comply. You know, they're really inwardly focused, you know, and so, you know, they don't come to trainings, and, you know, they do what they have to do, but they're not really involved, you know, in an extended way at all. Nancy?
Banner Focus had 7 new members come in recently. So we took that PowerPoint and I tweaked it a little bit for Banner Cook, and we presented that a week or 2 ago. I had 2 other club members who helped with that, and both of them said, wow, I learned a lot going through that PowerPoint that I didn't know. So our president just sent the PowerPoint out to all the members for them to look at, because there was information in there that longtime members didn't know or remember.
Right,
So.
exactly. As we get older, things don't stick around. This is the improved club quality webpage. And so these are some of the things I just mentioned: your club, your way, blueprint to a stronger club. The club quality initiative, that's a process you can use to do a self-assessment of your club and your members to see how they feel about what you're doing. And there's like a 4-part thing where they talk about communication, leadership, service, and your public image. Those are the 4 areas where you can do a self-assessment. And then the Club Excellence Award, that's what I mentioned a little while ago about if you apply for this, if you check off a number of boxes, you can apply for this and get an award. So that's a nice thing. And these are just these are some of the booklets that describe those things. And that's the award. That's what you can get. And
Like I
then-
said, I would like to see all of the zone chairs do that this year.
So anyway, so you can do this on your own. You could take your pamphlet and think about how you would help these clubs get better. And so that's kind of what we were supposed to have talked about today. Identifying characteristics of healthy clubs, analyze your club health assessment reports, and then use resources to boost the club health. Did we do that?
Yes.
Great.
Very good.
Well, again, I want to thank everybody for coming, and I want to be respectful of your time today. And I appreciate all the discussion we've had. I think we've had some really good points. I've recorded the session, so a lot of our discussion is on there, hopefully. We had a few issues the other night, but I think we got through all that. But anyway, so I really appreciate your time, especially I know a lot of you were at the Thursday night training. I appreciate your help.
Good.
You know, we'll try to, we plan to do another event in April again. So hopefully things are a little bit more back to normal. And so we'll do another leadership training, probably at Vandercook Lake, because they are very accommodating, I will tell you. They didn't charge us for using their school and, you know, and all their facilities there. And so, and they've done this for years. I mean, Vandercook Lake has done this, high school has done this for several years, at least as long as I've been involved. So it's
One
it's
thing I
great.
did overhear the janitors saying, the janitors who stole some of our candy, I might add.
That was okay though.
Well, we observed them. Maybe in the Concord, Jim, the Concord treasurer, saw them take candy off the table. Anyway, I overheard them say that they typically leave there by 8:30. So as soon as we get done, we need to get out.
Right. Right. Yeah, we were,
And the principal told me that they were supposed to be there till 9.
Okay.
So
Well,
you guys haven't built until 9.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
then we need to say, well, we were told until 9.
Maybe we have a cupcake next time.
Can I get your pictures real quick underneath the thing?
oh, yeah,
Like that, Roger.
I'm sorry, I was.
Can I
think-
make a closing statement?
Sure.
Just, I'm not a zone chair, but just being on the outside looking in, a new member and all that good stuff. That I would suggest to the zone chairs, when you go out and meet with your clubs, especially the new clubs, just let them know that it's important that they attend, even though you're not a zone chair, you can attend the classes and training and
Yeah.
because I had a phone call last night, well, I didn't know we could go, well, yeah, you're invited, you know. Learning is learning,
Mhm.
but a lot of people don't know that and they might not feel comfortable unless someone in a leadership position kind of let them know that this is available and it's available to you as well, so come on out, the more the merrier.
So Mary Ann has a question. Mary Ann, are you there? Her hand's up.
Maybe she's on mute.
She is. She can, I can't unmute her. I'm gonna take a picture of you guys. There you go. Great. All right, the official record. So, oh, you wanted to take a picture?
Everybody up front.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording now, so